Hi humans, Walter Jackson here from the 5 Jacksons Journey. This week I'm doing a slightly different video. We've been on the road for 6 months and I thought it's a good time to reflect on all the stuff that's actually gone wrong during our travels. So I don't want to focus on the negatives, but it's sometimes good to just show people what can happen when you live on the road full time. It's not all just roses and fairy tales. Sometimes things do break or you make stupid mistakes, and this video is all about all the stuff that went wrong in our first 6 months. So in the last 6 months, we have driven from Orlando, Florida, all the way to Los Angeles, coast to coast. During that time, we stopped at 33 campsites, 13 states, and we've done a little over 8,000 miles with the RV and our Ford Ranger. Those of you that follow us on Instagram at 5 Jacksons Journey will know that we post a lot of pictures of all the beautiful places that we visited, and it's been truly amazing to see these 13 states. We did a lot of remote camping in rural parts of the US. We love camping by the lakes, and then we've also chased a lot of snow recently, going skiing in 5 states. So that's a lot of winter camping. Lots of heavy snow that we had in Flagstaff, Arizona, as well as in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and most recently at Lake Tahoe. And that brings with it its own problems. You have frozen water pipes sometimes. You've got to really manage your black tanks, make sure that you have some heat, whether it's insulation or you're running a furnace, because you don't want your poop tank to freeze solid. That's just going to cause a big disaster. The major accident we had this week happened when the Blue Ox towing system or tow bar that we used to pull the Ford Ranger behind the RV actually completely disintegrated. It broke in a few places while we were making a slow turn, and the Ranger then rammed into the back of the RV, causing damage to the front of the Ranger, as well as some damage to the back of the RV. And we're going to busy claiming off the insurance. I've sent the parts away to be analyzed because we're way under the weight rating for this. It's rated at 7,500 pounds and we're only towing just under 5,000 pounds. So I'm waiting for the company to give me feedback once they do the stress tests. But it was a major disruption. We now can't tow the pickup anymore. Max has to drive it everywhere behind the RV. And also, we were quite shocked by this, because if it happened down any of the passes we were going up and down, we could have caused major damage to somebody else. The truck could have gone off the cliff. It was really scary what could have happened. We got away quite, we were lucky to get away with nothing major. It's just repairs to the equipment. Nobody got injured. Leaking was actually one of our first major problems, although that wasn't caused by the weather. That was actually my own stupidity. When I connected the hose for the first time, it was actually too far away from the bus, and I had to use 2 of the sewage pipes, and it comes with end caps that I removed, but I didn't know at the one end there was actually 2 caps, one on the outer side and then one that screws in. So I left that one in. When I connected the 2 pipes, I checked that it was connected, and I opened the black tank to flush, and obviously it all just got halfway and got stuck. I didn't realize what was happening initially, so I didn't check. It was our first campsite, first ever time RVing. So for like a week, we had this blockage, and I was just flushing the tanks, or I assumed the water was going through, never double checked. And what happened was, eventually luckily the gray tank was the one that filled first. It burst, and it flooded our whole water basement area. And lesson learned. So it was a really shitty job to clean up, but we managed to just unhook the two, separate the pipes with a bucket underneath. Lots of mess, but I removed the plug, hooked it up again, and we could flush the tanks. The next major issue we had wasn't actually our fault. We had some pipe leaking while we were at a campsite in Carlsbad. The day we left, we drove 3 feet, and the soft ground where the leak was gave way, and we sank into this hole, dropping the 3 feet. The bus actually beached onto the frame, and I spent 3 wonderful hours digging out the back wheel, unsuccessfully, mind you, because in the end we had to get a tow truck to come and pull us out. So 6-7 hours of the day lost, and we got to our next campsite in the dark. It kind of spoiled all of our sightseeing plans for Roswell, New Mexico. But yeah, it just shows you that if there's a leak, it can make the ground softer. So even if you're standing on blocks, as soon as you move away over a soft area, you can sink in and get stuck. The closest we actually got to destroying the whole bus was an electrical issue. We woke up one night to a smell of burning and immediately went and checked. So what happened was our 50 amp socket coming into the RV, it had a short. It melted the whole thing, and if it was left any longer, it could have caused a fire and the whole bus could have burned down. So that wasn't, in the end, such a big issue. I could do most of the work myself. I just had to get an electrician to come and certify that the work I did was correct, and they hooked it all up. But yeah, that could have caused some major problems. We've also had a few leaks in the plumbing. It's mostly stuff that I could fix myself. It's just some of the design features on the Berkshire is a bit dodgy, I think. So one of the valves that sits in the bathroom was completely covered by a box that they carpeted over, so you couldn't access it. So I completely removed that and replaced it with a box that you can actually open on some hinges. And what's good is I travel with a lot of tools, so I can actually do most of the repairs myself. No experience needed. I have no clue what I'm doing. I just use YouTube and I guess a bit of common sense and the tools that I have, and you just fix what you can, and if you can't fix it, you just get a mobile RV repair guy to come and help. Another issue that went wrong one day, we hit a low-hanging branch. It took one of the covers of the AC completely off. We didn't actually notice. When we got to the next site, we noticed that the cover was off. So I went to Camping World, just got a new cover, and it took me less than half an hour to fix. Another thing that people don't normally talk about is also driving this RV. Now, typically when you go down the motorway, freeway, highway, whatever you want to call it, it's fairly easy to drive. It's not a hassle. You can control it fairly easily. You get used to it. It's fairly simple to operate. But what's different is when you hit the mountains and you have to go up and down steep passes, especially when you're towing a vehicle behind. You have to go slow, especially downhill, and it's sometimes very tiring, exhausting, stressful to drive. What we've seen, especially when it's icy, there's no guardrails, so the road can be slippery. You have to really reduce your speed, use the air brakes when you go down. I hope people don't get too negative watching this. Things do go wrong, but I mean, it's to be expected. What you are essentially doing is packing up your house and moving down the road, shaking it, exposing it to elements. Even if you're in a stationary house, you do have to do ongoing maintenance on your home. Just think of it like that, and be aware that you're shaking your house constantly, so things will go wrong a lot more often in an RV than it does in a normal house, but it does come with its rewards. So if I have to kind of weigh it up, all the things we've seen, the stuff we've done in the US far outweigh all the stuff we have to deal with that goes wrong. It does make you negative sometimes, but I mean, you just have to lift yourself up get it sorted out and move on.